Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Boom, 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 boom. On top of the towering city walls, one after another, the 18-meter-long magic cannons relentlessly bombard the undead army outside the city. The impact area of the shells is thousands of meters away. With just one shot, hundreds of undead creatures within a few hundred meters are wiped out. In just one round of bombardment, over 100,000 undead creatures are killed. Unfortunately, the Overlord profession does not receive any primal energy rewards for killing enemies with war weapons, apart from dropping loot. Otherwise, with a few more rounds of bombardment, Lin Yu's level could potentially reach Transcendent late stage. Of course, it's already great to be able to obtain equipment, blueprints, gold coins, and other loot. There's no need to think about it. After this wave of war, Lin Yu's gains will be unimaginable. Bang, 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 bang. Suddenly, the city walls of the territory tremble as if they have been heavily struck. Looking up, a large number of boulders are seen flying and smashing onto the city walls like projectiles. Instantly, the durability of the city walls drops by several hundred points. Catapults? On the eastern city wall, a group of six-winged angels stands. They all turn their gaze towards a few thousand meters away. With the help of the observation tower, they can easily see the situation in that area. In that area, there are towering catapults, several tens of meters high, operated by dozens of tall, undead monks. They continuously transport and bombard the city walls of their territory. The undead monks are large undead monsters. Each one is about 10 meters tall, bald, with bloated rotting flesh all over. As for the catapults they operate, don't ask why the undead camp has catapults, don't ask how they were made, and don't ask where the undead creatures brought these catapults from. In any case, the appearance of the undead catapults is a fact, and there are a lot of them. In just a short moment, a large number of catapults appear in other areas outside the city. All of them are operated by large-sized abhorrent undead, forming a circle centered around Lin Yu's territory, about 3,000 meters away, surrounding Lin Yu's territory. Roughly estimated, there are at least 1,000 catapults. It's simply terrifying. With so many catapults, if most of the projectiles hit, it would only take 3 to 5 rounds of attacks to destroy Lin Yu's city walls. Not to mention that at this moment, there are countless undead creatures attacking the city walls from outside. And they are all middle to high-level undead creatures. Most likely, they also know that low-level undead creatures cannot break through the defense of the middle-level city walls, so the undead army directly uses elite undead to attack. On one side, there is the bombardment of thousands of catapults. On the other side, there is the siege of countless middle to high-level undead elites. If this continues, Lin Yu's territory walls will at most last 1 or 2 hours before becoming ruins. By that time, the undead army will invade the territory. Intruding into the creator's territory, face destruction. Just as several six-winged angels were preparing to give orders to destroy those undead catapults, 2 towering 7-meter-tall 8-winged fallen angels, resembling goddesses clad in blood armor, stepped forward. They stood in the sky above the city walls. Holding the blood-dripping fallen angel swords, they pointed their swords towards the outside of the city. Fallen angels of transcendent level, obey our command and break through the enemy's catapult legion. All fallen angel legions, concentrate your attack on the northern area of the territory. These 2 8-winged fallen angels are none other than the recently summoned Mercia and Aphrodite. Understood. In an instant, dozens of large-sized fallen angels soar into the sky. Advertisement. They transformed into blood shadows, following behind 2 8-winged fallen angels, charging straight towards the undead catapult positions 3 kilometers away. Flames of the blood fan. Black sea whirlpool. Godu dark touch. Boom, 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 boom. Terrifying hellish power erupted at the undead army's catapult positions. Instantly, a large number of catapults were forcefully destroyed. At the same time, the fallen angels responsible for controlling those catapults were also killed by the powerful fallen angels. And it didn't stop at death. Their blood power and soul power were completely devoured. Dozens of transcendent-level fallen angels were like bulldozers. Wherever they went, all the undead catapults were destroyed. During this process, several bone dragons roared as they descended from the sky, spewing cold dragon breath towards the fallen angels. Lowly undead creatures. Even in hell, we fallen angels are the toys. Who gave you the courage to dare invade the territory of the Creator? Eight-winged fallen angel Immerstia was extremely violent, soaring into the sky and grabbing a bone dragon by its wings, forcefully dragging it down and slamming it onto the ground. Then, with a single sword, she pierced through the head of that bone dragon and simultaneously devoured its soul fire. Seeing this scene, the flying undead creatures gathered in the sky, such as the stone oak ghost, specter, mirror ghost, and ghost dragon, all flew hundreds of meters away, not daring to approach these fallen angels at all. It's our turn. An eight-winged divine angel appeared out of thin air. She had a delicate and beautiful face, holding a scepter and wearing an exquisite crown. Above her perfectly proportioned figure, there was an extremely rich holy radiance. She was one of the unique eight-winged dominion angels summoned by Lin Yu this time, with the authority to command all the angel legions in the territory. Lin Yu named her Catherine. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. With a command from eight-winged dominion angel Catherine. On the city walls, over 30,000 divine angels turned into a torrent of holy light and charged out of the territory. Immediately following them were the territory's Forest Troll Legion, Goblin Legion, Grey Dwarf Legion, and Dark Elf Legion, among other native believer legions. It is worth mentioning. Today, the Angel Legion has eradicated over 20 native power strongholds. Among them, some of the native strongholds were unlucky enough to be attacked by the fallen Angel Legion and were wiped out without even raising a white flag. Only the native strongholds that encountered the divine Angel Legion had the opportunity to be redeemed. After a day, the Divine Angel Legion has successfully recruited over 40,000 native intelligent beings, including forest trolls, goblins, and others. They have all joined Lin Yu's territory and become Lin Yu's believers. As of now, the number of Lin Yu's subjects has exceeded 150,000. Among them, the number of angels and forest trolls is the highest, accounting for more than half of all subjects. Kill. Praise the great holy Lord. In the name of the holy light, purify these evil creatures. In the rear of the angel army, countless forest trolls, goblins, dark elves, gray dwarves roared as they charged into the densely packed undead army outside the city. They followed the footsteps of the angel army in the war. Like a suicide squad, and like fearless fanatics, they engaged in an incredibly fierce battle with the undead creatures, defending the majesty of the God of faith. Fearless fanatic believers, in the high sky corresponding to the walls of the territory. At this moment, countless flying undead creatures gathered. Bone dragons, ghost dragons, stone oak ghosts, specters. Like a swarm of bees, they are countless. However, they did not swoop into Lin Yu's territory from the sky, as if they were intercepted by an invisible vertical barrier. Some flying undead creatures kept diving down to attack the walls of Lin Yu's territory. This is because of the rules of the floating island. Only by destroying the walls of the territory can native creatures enter the territory of the overlord profession, whether they are ground monsters or flying monsters. If there is a magic defense shield, they also have to destroy the magic defense shield. This is the final protection of the world rules of the floating island for the overlord profession. However, this protection is actually not very effective. After all, undead creatures even have siege weapons like catapults. If it were other overlord professionals, their territory walls would have been destroyed by those catapults long ago, and only Lin Yu's territory could hold on until now. Chirp, 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 chirp. At this moment, a large number of pink arrows flew into the sky. In the center of the arrows, there were even 2 red hearts. Similar to this, they look cute and dreamy. But don't underestimate these arrows, because they are the arrows of the god of love. Only saw these illusory pink arrows. After shooting out, each one pierced many flying undead creatures, and then they froze. The next second, these flying undead creatures hugged each other. Some are 2 or 3. Some are a dozen. This is because the number of undead creatures hit by each arrow varies. The common point is that as long as they are hit by the same arrow of the god of love, those flying undead creatures will deeply love each other, and this other party may also be multiple different types of undead creatures. Stone oak ghosts and specters fall in love. Bone dragons and specters, stone oak ghosts, mirror ghosts fall in love. Howling tells the love for each other in their hearts. The chaotic scene is simply astonishing. The undead creatures nearby that were not hit by the arrows of the god of love looked at their companions hugging and entwining each other, and they were directly confused. They even ignored attacking the walls below. What's going on? In the midst of war, how can they fall in love? Hey, you are a bone dragon, a specter, and a vampire. This is against the laws of nature. Quickly separate, you will not have happiness. Higher-level undead creatures kept shouting and shaking their spiritual consciousness. Some even wanted to approach and separate those undead creatures hugging each other, but they were just hammered and almost torn into pieces by these lovers in love. At the same time, the pink heart-shaped arrows kept shooting into the sky, making a chirping sound. Wherever they went, not a single dog was left. The flying undead creatures in other areas were so scared that their expressions twisted, and they ran away in groups, not daring to approach Lin Yu's territory anymore. Now it is no longer a matter of life and death, but it concerns the dignity of their undead creatures. If the news spreads, how can they still be undead? Amazing! Lin Yu, who walked out of the hall of the Overlord, was also confused for a long time when he saw this scene. Finally, he weirdly exclaimed. In the distance, Angel of Love surely flew over with joy and said sweetly, "Thank you for the praise, my lord." Looking at the petite and cute angel girl who seemed to have walked out of the two-dimensional world, Lin Yu suddenly had the urge to hold her in his arms. Of course, the main reason was to touch the 6 snow-white wings behind her that were different from other holy angels and fluffy, coupled with those shiny golden eyes. It's really cute. Lin Yu couldn't help but reach out and pinch Angel of Love Shirley's cheek. While experiencing the delicate touch, he smiled and said, "Keep up the good work. When your arrows of love can hit the goddesses on the myriad worlds battlefield, I will appoint you as an archangel." Hearing this, the cute Angel of Love widened her eyes. Then she vigorously nodded her head, extremely excited. Advertisement. Becoming an archangel is the dream of all little angels, including those 12-winged seraphim, throne angel, wisdom angel. They also dream of becoming archangels. Because in the divine domain of the Lord, archangels are the core high-ranking beings. Generally speaking, 12-winged angels may not have the opportunity to access the center of power in the divine domain, simply because there are too many of them, and they are only the commanders of the army. Compared to the massive angel army in the divine domain of the Lord, there are countless commanders at the 12-wing level. Only archangels can enter the highest sacred hall. My lord, I will work very hard. Well, go. Lin Yu smiled and rubbed the head of the cute angel. After Angel of Love Shirley happily flew away, he came to the vicinity of the territory's warehouse and chose a suitable area to build 2 warehouses. Other territories at the town level can build 3 warehouses. Then, Lin Yu upgraded all 3 warehouses to town level reserve, and they were directly upgraded to high level. Town level reserve, level, high level. Reservable resources, 10 million units. Next level, city level reserve. Upgrade requirement 1. 100,000 units of wood, 50,000 units of stone, 30,000 units of iron ore. Upgrade requirement 2. City-level territory. 3 town-level reserve warehouses, capable of storing 30 million units of resources. It's enough for now. While speaking, Lin Yu stored all the resources, including food, wood, stone, and iron ore, that had piled up into mountains in the northern area of the territory into the warehouses. With such a high storage capacity, he didn't have to worry about overflowing in the short term. In addition to the warehouses, the town-level territory can also build a second blacksmith workshop and a second city wall. 2 city walls can divide the territory into the inner city area and the outer city area. He planned to build them when the number of his subjects increased. At that time, the inner city would be the residence of him, angels, and dark elves. The outer city area would be the residential area for goblins, forest trolls, and other racial subjects. When the kingdom is established, he can continue to divide the territory into different zones. For example, core area, inner city area, outer city area, and ordinary area, etc. By different residential areas, the subjects can be further divided. With various reward and punishment systems, the desire for promotion among the subjects can be stimulated. After all, the closer to the core area, the closer to him, the god of faith. The welfare treatment would definitely be better. Of course, this is something to consider in the future. As for the second blacksmith workshop, he can only wait for the blueprint to appear. Lin Yu opened the glory contribution ranking and took a look. So far, there were already more than 30 overlords on the list, all of whom had captured local strongholds. While Lin Yu was developing, other overlords were also developing. However, their glory points were not many. Xia Qingyue, who ranked second, only had 1,500 glory points. It should be that she had captured 5 local strongholds. As for Lin Yu's glory points, they reached a staggering 17,800, far ahead of Xia Qingyue in second place. Originally, my goal was to exchange for the Curse of the Lich King. It costs 5,000 glory points. But now, I'm not interested in it anymore. My goal is the Origin Scepter, worth 40,000 glory points. Among all the divine weapon level items, its value is the highest. No rush, I still have time. In about 7 days, the glory menu will refresh, and the prices will skyrocket. I have enough time to gather the remaining glory points. For some reason, Lin Yu felt that the divine weapon called the Origin Scepter was a perfect match for him. Among the numerous divine weapon level items, he was immediately drawn to it. Then, Lin Yu went to the city wall of the territory. He didn't have to worry about being attacked because as long as the city wall was not destroyed, any attack would be ineffective against him. This was also the rule of the floating island. At this moment, the hundreds of magic cannons on the city wall were still bombarding the undead army outside the city like perpetual motion machines. And the war outside the city was also intense. Facing the vast undead army, the troops in his territory began to suffer casualties. Fortunately, under Lin Yu's command, there was an angel of love. This cute angel of love stood tall in the sky above the battlefield, waving her divine staff and pouring down a brilliant holy light. In an instant, the fallen troops in that area were resurrected on the spot, and they were resurrected with full health and mana. It proved once again that the healer on the battlefield was the most powerful. As the war continued, Lin Yu felt a large amount of primal energy converging towards him, and it was continuous. His intuition told him that he would soon be able to break through again. From the early stage of Transcendent, he would advance to the mid-stage of Transcendent. The higher the level of a professional, the more difficult it is to level up. Especially at the levels of Transcendent, Saint Rank, and Demigod, many professionals may not be able to level up for 1 or 2 weeks. However, this does not apply to Lin Yu. The reason is simple: the size of his legion of troops is growing faster. Ignoring the summoning of angels and the breeding of dark elves, just the increase in local believers recruited by the holy angels is around tens of thousands per day. Yesterday, his population was 100,000. By this evening, when the main force returned, the population had reached 150,000, an increase of 50%. The size of the legion of troops also increased, reaching around 120,000. Such a terrifying growth rate means that Lin Yu's leveling speed is far beyond comparison with other professionals. Even now that he has entered the Transcendent stage, his leveling speed is still very rapid. Tonight, my level can reach the mid-stage of Transcendent, or even the late stage of Transcendent. Next, I will prepare for the promotion to Saint Rank. For an Overlord professional to promote to Saint Rank and master the power of the domain, The conditions are the same as promoting to king level and transcendent, requiring the killing of 10 enemies at the saint rank level. So far, only Angelia under his command has killed a saint rank green dragon. In other words, there are still 9 more to go. And before gathering the 10 kills at the saint rank level, even if his level has reached the threshold of breaking through to the late stage of transcendent, he cannot promote to saint rank. This is not the floating island maliciously hindering the professional's level. On the contrary, the floating island is already good enough to professionals. At least it doesn't require professionals to comprehend the domain and promote to saint rank on their own. If promoted in this way, the majority of professionals could be stuck at the late stage of transcendent for a lifetime. After all, how could players comprehend the domain? Therefore, the floating island has already treated professionals very well. When stepping into saint rank and mastering the domain, players need to rely on themselves to comprehend the laws and promote to demigod. The domain is the threshold of the laws. The floating island bestows professionals with domains suitable for them, opening the door to the laws for professionals. If, under these circumstances, professionals cannot promote to demigod, then it is doomed. Of course, during this process, the floating island will also provide certain assistance to professionals in promoting to demigod through various means. In short, as long as they work hard and strive for progress, every professional has the opportunity to reach the peak. I wonder what domain is suitable for me. Lin Yu sensed the constantly increasing primal energy in his body and was also full of anticipation for the upcoming path to saint rank. In the world of the floating island, saint rank is also a top powerhouse. Without demigods, saint rank is invincible. Once promoted to saint rank, Lin Yu can completely dominate on the blue star. After all, the blue star doesn't even have demigods. Time quickly came to midnight. The catapult camp of the undead army had long been destroyed. However, this did not affect the undead army's attack on Lin Yu's territory. On the contrary, as time entered midnight, the undead army's attacks became even more fierce. With the help of nearly 100 watchtowers scattered around the territory, Lin Yu could clearly see that undead creatures, like a vast ocean, were converging towards his territory from all directions. Advertisement. Some come from even farther regions. Some emerge directly from underground. In any case, they are countless. With this relentless and fierce onslaught, there is no territory that can withstand it. At this stage, even the territory of an apex-level overlord has long been conquered. However, for Lin Yu's territory, this kind of attack is nothing. This is because the undead army only has one advantage, which is its large numbers and massive scale. But the disadvantage is that they lack a decisive weapon to determine victory or defeat. Among the undead army, there are very few true powerhouses. At most, they are just a group of transcendents. There isn't a single undead at the saint rank level. Especially after the Catapult Legion was destroyed, it became even more difficult for the undead army to conquer Lin Yu's territory. Now, they can't even get close to the walls of Lin Yu's territory. Countless unstoppable angel legions, leading fearless territorial troops, forcefully block the undead army hundreds of meters away from the walls. Not only on the ground, the undead creatures in the sky are the same. After all, it's not just bone dragons, ghost dragons, and stone oak ghosts that can fly. Lin Yu's angels can also fly. Coupled with the deterrence of the arrows of the god of love, there are hardly any flying undead creatures that can approach or have the courage to approach Lin Yu's territory. It can be said that the outcome of this war has already been determined. The undead army cannot conquer Lin Yu's territory. Lin Yu's territorial troops cannot completely eliminate the vast undead army. By the time tomorrow morning, when the sun rises, the surviving undead creatures will choose to retreat and return to their underground world. Roar. A roar of a dragon suddenly appeared on the battlefield. It was a flaming dragon over 50 meters long, burning with hot red flames all over its body. With a loud bang, the flaming dragon crashed to the ground, instantly exploding an area of 300 meters in radius. In an instant, all the undead creatures in this area were burned to ashes. Even high-level undead creatures couldn't resist. This is Lin Yu's fire dragon spell. It was also an opportunity he finally found to cast it. The reason why it was said to be a rare opportunity is because there are his territorial troops all over the battlefield, and one careless move could cause friendly fire. Awesome! Lin Yu shouted from the bottom of his heart. He had a brilliant smile on his face, obviously very happy. After being in the floating island world for such a long time, this was the first time he killed a monster. And he killed hundreds of undead creatures in one shot. This feeling was extremely refreshing. It can be seen that deep down in Lin Yu's heart, there is a desire for battle, hoping to satisfy himself through this kind of satisfying kill. Now, he finally found the opportunity. At the same time, there were a large number of territorial troops cheering on the battlefield. The god of faith is with them. In an instant, their fighting spirit boiled, and their morale reached its peak. Even if there are endless enemies ahead, they cannot generate the slightest fear. Being able to fight against the enemy under the attention of the god of faith, guarding their faith and loyalty, is the most glorious thing. For this, even if they die on the battlefield, they are not afraid. Praise the great Lord of holy light. Obey the divine oracle of the Supreme Creator. Exterminate the evil heretics on the battlefield. Kill. In the upcoming battle, Lin Yu repeatedly sought opportunities to unleash the fire dragon technique. Each time, he was able to kill a large number of undead creatures. But now, things were different. He had already become a transcendent professional. High-level magic like the fire dragon technique was easily accessible to him, and the power it unleashed was extremely strong, comparable to the average transcendent magic skill. He continued until his magical energy was completely depleted. Only then did Lin Yu stop. He sensed the surging primal energy within his body and muttered to himself, "Indeed, the primal energy obtained from killing enemies as a unit is completely different from killing them individually. The former only yields a small amount, while the latter yields everything. It is because of this that top combat professionals are able to level up quickly, even surpassing low-level and middle-level overlord professionals. Without considering magical energy consumption, if I go all out and kill to my heart's content, even without the help of a unit, I can reach the realm of transcendent late stage tonight." As he spoke, Lin Yu shook his head. He was not prepared to continue. Firstly, he had already depleted his magical energy. Secondly, the battlefield had been pushed a kilometer away by the angel army and the unit troops of the territory. He had to leave the city walls and the territory to strike the undead army's camp with the fire dragon technique. This action seemed a bit reckless, and it didn't have much significance. After all, if he could level up while lying down, why bother exerting himself? The feeling of depleted magical energy was even more uncomfortable than physical exhaustion. Therefore, after glancing at the dark night sky, Lin Yu prepared to go back to sleep. He had already handed over control of the war to Angelia. With an elegant and beautiful chief secretary by his side, he believed that nothing unexpected would happen. But at that moment, Lin Yu suddenly heard a series of muffled sounds, rhythmic and resonant. The sounds came from the distant horizon. They were like war drums, yet also like thunder. Strong enemies are coming. This was Lin Yu's first reaction. His second reaction was to use the vantage point of the watchtower to monitor the situation. After a moment, he found the target. It was a group of undead knights wearing black armor, wielding long spears or raising large swords, exuding a strong aura of evil. They appeared about a dozen kilometers away, numbering over 300. The lowest among them were transcendent level. The most powerful undead knights even reached the saint rank. Death Knights? Lin Yu was somewhat surprised and uncertain. Death Knights were an apex level unit. There were already overlords on the island who had obtained this unit. Looking at the strange mounts under those undead knights, their appearance was extremely peculiar. They resembled horses but not horses, lions but not lions. They had the heads of giant lions, the bodies of spirited horses, the limbs of dragons, the tails of pythons, and ears similar to enlarged elf ears. A thick layer of dark red scales covered their bodies. Under their feet, they even trampled on ice blue flames. The combination of the black armor knights and the dark armor ice flame mounts looked extremely majestic and domineering, and very arrogant. Wherever these knights passed, all the undead creatures obediently made way, not daring to block their path. Those who ran slowly were directly cut down by them, truly deserving of being the apex-level unit of the undead camp. Before long, the 300 undead knights arrived at the edge of the battlefield. They did not immediately join the war. Instead, they observed the unit troops on the battlefield. Their main focus was the angels under Lin Yu's command. After a moment, it seemed they had discovered something. The not-so-large knight army silently retreated, and their retreat speed became faster and faster, as if they were frightened. Advertisement. What's going on? Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yu was immediately dumbfounded. Originally, he thought that this powerful undead knight squad would participate in the war and fight against his angel legion. After all, among them were several saint-rank powerhouses, with the rest being transcendent. Their combat power was extremely terrifying. But to Lin Yu's surprise, as soon as these undead knights approached the battlefield, they immediately retreated on their own. They came fast and left just as quickly. At this moment, Lin Yu noticed dozens of blood-colored figures rising from the battlefield, chasing after the escaping undead knights. These blood-colored figures were his subordinates, the fallen angels, led by 2 8-winged angels. The rest were all 6-winged fallen angels. Although the enemy team was powerful, the fallen angels showed no fear. They were even excited, like cats encountering mice. In contrast, the undead knights were like frightened mice, desperately fleeing. However, no matter how fast they were, they couldn't outrun the fallen angels. After fleeing for over 50 kilometers, they were caught up and intercepted by a group of fallen angels. Dozens of large and perfectly proportioned fallen angels stood tall in the sky. They held blood-dripping divine swords, looking down at the undead knight squad below. The leader, 8-winged fallen angel Merstya, said expressionlessly, "You have some nerve, daring to appear in the mortal realm." "Calm down, my lord." A saint-rank undead knight stepped forward, speaking in a mechanical and rigid voice. "We were just passing through, not intending to offend. We hope that my lord will allow us to leave. We swear to Lord Death that we will never approach this area again. Since you're here, don't leave." Merstya showed no mercy. With a wave of her blood sword, the dozens of fallen angels behind her surrounded the undead knight squad and said, "We give you 2 choices, kneel or die. Why make things difficult for us, my lord?" 3 more saint-rank undead knights stepped forward. Their voices were also mechanical and cold, but they clearly carried a sense of helplessness and fear. In reality, they had no idea what these fallen angels were. They had never seen them before. The reason they referred to the fallen angels as my lord was because the fallen angels emitted an extremely pure, hellish aura, purer than the aura they themselves emitted. In their world, this represented a difference in status and position, a strict hierarchy. Even though their ranks were higher, they still had to lower their heads before the fallen angels. However, if these lords insisted on killing them, they could only choose to resist. After all, these lords were not the ones they pledged allegiance to. "It seems that death is backing you up? What a pity. I had intended to bring you under my command and give you the opportunity to become my slaves." Before Merstya finished speaking, an elegant and noble figure appeared out of thin air. It was Angelia. She swept her gaze expressionlessly over the undead knights and said calmly, "What's there to talk about with a group of nightmare knights marked by death? Kill them. I'm also curious how these creatures from the underworld ended up in this world." "As you command." Merstya bowed. Then, with the group of fallen angels, they all attacked the undead knights together. In an instant, a great battle erupted. Angelia also personally took action. She directly used her domain, forcibly imprisoning the 4 saint-rank undead knights. In the vast world of her domain, one of the saint-rank undead knights shouted, "Space, annihilation, holy, light, judgment, divine punishment." What a joke. Its voice was no longer mechanical and rigid. Instead, it was filled with endless horror and astonishment. But before it could finish speaking, its body disappeared. Then, its three companions also disappeared one after another. Not through teleportation or escape, but through annihilation. Soon, the four saint-rank undead knights were reduced to clusters of ghostly green soul flames, floating within Angelia's domain. 1 against 4, instant kill. Another battlefield. Dozens of fallen angels faced over 300 undead knights of the same level, yet they were not at all at a disadvantage. Accompanied by the blooming of endless blood light, the undead knights fell in groups, and in the moment of death, the soul flames within them were completely devoured by the fallen angels. In less than 20 minutes, over 300 transcendent-level undead knights were killed cleanly by the fallen angels. The leading 8-winged fallen angel, Merstia, Aphne, and the 6-winged fallen angel, Gladys, directly soared in levels and entered the saint rank. The other fallen angels also stepped into the mid and late stages of Transcendent. This war caused the levels of the fallen angels to skyrocket. Of course, there was also Angelia. She single-handedly killed 4 saint rank undead knights, easily stepping into the late stage of saint rank from the initial stage, and was not far from reaching the peak of saint rank. At the saint rank level, there was the concept of a peak. Before this, the king level and transcendent only had the late stage. Breaking through the late stage would allow one to step into the next realm. The reason why the concept of a peak appeared starting from the saint rank was not because the levels were subdivided, but because of a deeper understanding of the domain. Ordinary saint rank beings all mastered a domain, and when a trace of the power of laws was born within the domain, their level would reach the peak of saint rank. When this trace of power of laws became complete, one could break through the realm and become a demigod. At the demigod level, there was also a peak realm. A demigod who successfully ignited the divine fire was a peak demigod. Compared to ordinary demigods, the strength of a peak demigod was many times stronger, but still weaker than a true god who condensed a divine nature. Take it. Angelia waved her right hand. For clusters of azure soul flames floated towards Merstia and the others. Thank you, my lord. Merstia and the others immediately expressed their gratitude. Then they devoured the 4 clusters of saint rank soul flames. Afterwards, the realm they had just broken through to, the saint rank, became more stable and their strength became stronger. At the same time, they obtained the memories of these undead knights. Angelia asked with a calm expression, "Why did these nightmare knights from the underworld appear in this world? What is their purpose?" 8-winged fallen angel Merstia respectfully replied, "Reporting to my lord, they transmigrated from the underworld to search for a divine body of the death god, which is said to have been left behind during the Holy Demon War. There are a total of 18 teams of nightmare knights that came from the underworld. They are just one of them. Among these nightmare knight teams, 5 are led by demigod-level nightmare knights. They are scattered in various regions of this world, secretly searching for that divine body of the death god." "The divine body of the death god?" Angelia nodded slightly and said, "It can barely be considered a treasure. We need to obtain it, extract its divinity, and help our lord ascend to godhood." "You are wise, my lord." 8-winged fallen angel Merstia said, "With the assistance of divinity, it will be easy for the creator to ascend to godhood. Furthermore, there is a clue in the memories of those nightmare knights." "What clue?" "Leaving aside other regions, if we only consider the Dark Forest, the most likely place to become the divine land of the fallen god is the headquarters of Bone Temple in the north. 3 days ago, a team led by a demigod went there." Her voice paused slightly. Merstia asked again, "My lord, should we immediately go to Bone Temple to prevent the divine body of the death god from truly falling there and being obtained by those nightmare knights?" "Why the rush?" Angelia said indifferently, "Even if they find the divine body of the death god, it will be difficult to transport it for a while. They will need to summon other nightmare knight teams and set up a sacrificial altar. We don't need to be in a hurry. Let them find it first." "Understood." Merstia nodded. Just as she was about to speak, the elegant and noble figure in front of her disappeared into thin air. Secretarian left. Also taken away were the scattered spoils of war. After a moment of silence, Merstya led the other fallen angels and left this place, continuing to clear out the undead creatures on the battlefield. Almost at the same time, advertisement. In the northern region of the Dark Forest, a large and powerful legion of nightmare knights suddenly stopped. Sir, why have we stopped moving forward? Is there a special situation? A perplexed nightmare knight at the peak of the saint rank inquired. Ahead, a burly and terrifying nightmare knight, without even turning his head, said, Squad 13 has been wiped out. It's not just a simple casualty. Their souls have been completely extinguished. The saint rank nightmare knight exclaimed in shock. Who could have been so ruthless? Could it be the demigod from the giant kingdom? We don't know yet. The terrifying nightmare knight shook his head, then coldly said, Don't worry about it. Continue with our mission. Finding the body of the death god, Bacchus, is the most important thing. Yes, sir. Soon, the legion of nightmare knights set off again. Under the pitch-black night, their figures were even more chilling than the undead. Even the undead would willingly make way when they saw them, because they were messengers from the underworld. Creatures from the underworld? Lin Yu's expression revealed a hint of surprise. Isn't the underworld supposed to be the resting place of the deceased? It should be a one-way journey. Yet now, there are beings from the underworld appearing on this floating island. This exceeded his expectations. Furthermore, he remembered that his demonic plant, the everlasting flower, was the guardian of the gates to the underworld, specifically feeding on the souls that entered the underworld. It could be called a skin-peeling monster of the dead. Yes, my lord. Angelia respectfully said, They are nightmare knights, following the oracle of a death god, who have descended upon this world to find the body of another death god belonging to the underworld camp. Lin Yu said, I thought they were apex-level units, the undead knights. The beasts they ride, are they the rumored nightmare beasts? Yes, my lord, Angelia said. Nightmare beasts are unique creatures of the underworld, with strong combat abilities and suitable for being mounts. Compared to undead knights, nightmare knights are at least 10 times stronger. Lin Yu asked again in confusion. They clearly approached the battlefield just now. Why did they suddenly retreat? Angelia respectfully said, Those nightmare knights were frightened by the hellish power emanating from the fallen angel, thinking they had encountered higher-level creatures from the underworld, so they hastily withdrew. This answer only puzzled Lin Yu even more. Could there be a connection between hell and the underworld? Why would a group of creatures from the underworld be scared by the power of hell? Lin Yu didn't know where the underworld was, but he knew that hell was behind the summoning of black holes, within the divine domain of the Creator. What can be confirmed is that hell and the underworld are not the same world. My lord, the situation is like this. Angelia explained, the hell where the fallen angel resides used to be part of the underworld. That was tens of millions of years ago, when several 18-winged grand archangels forcibly entered the underworld to seal the fallen angel, using their supreme divine power to divide the underworld into two. They used half of the fragments of the underworld to create the current hell. So in reality, the power of hell is actually the power of the underworld. The hellish aura emanating from the fallen angel is extremely pure, which frightened those nightmare knights. I see. Lin Yu suddenly realized, and was greatly shocked. Those 18-winged grand archangels of the divine angel camp were truly insane. Not only did they forcefully invade the land of the dead, they even split the legendary underworld in half, just like cutting a watermelon. One half returned to the original inhabitants of the underworld. The other half was used to create hell and seal the fallen angel. Could an ordinary person do such a thing? Definitely not. Only someone like the Wolfbane could do it. Lin Yu said, If we have the opportunity, we must seize that death god's body. The body of a deity is undoubtedly of astonishing value. It can be considered a world treasure, and he really wants to obtain it. I understand. Angelia respectfully said, "My lord, rest assured. No one can take away that death god's body. As long as it is in this world, it will definitely belong to you." Upon hearing this, Lin Yu couldn't help but smile. From the moment she was summoned until now, Secretary and has never disappointed him. Especially just now, when she single-handedly fought against 4 Saint-rank Nightmare Knights, it was a scene that left him deeply shocked. Even though they were all Saint-rank, Secretarian was a bit too strong. The war has been going on until now. I think there is already a group of exhausted troops, reaching their limit. Lin Yu said to Angelia standing beside him, "Organize and dispatch a portion of the troops back to the territory for rest and rotation." Angelia doesn't need to eat, drink, or even sleep. But after all, she is not a perpetual motion machine. Long periods of intense fighting still make them tired. In this situation, if they continue to stay on the battlefield, accidents are likely to occur, and the efficiency of killing enemies will also decrease significantly. As for the other troops in the territory, it's even worse. So, rotation is needed. First, withdraw a portion of the troops and let them return to the territory to rest and restore their magic power. After their condition recovers, they can replace the other troops on the battlefield. In this way, a high killing efficiency can be maintained. There is no other way. Who made the enemy an almost endless army of undead? They can't be killed, nor can they be driven away. This is the only way to fight. After all, the size of our territory's troops is too small. If we had 1,000,000 angel army, why worry about not being able to kill those undead creatures to the bone? "Master, don't worry," Angelia said in a gentle voice. "Your territory's troops are in the process of rapid expansion. I believe that soon the size of your army will reach 1,000,000. As for those undead creatures, their advantage is only temporary. When the City of Angels is completed and floats above your territory, at that time, even if the size of the undead army increases tenfold, they will have only one way to go, and that is death. With the City of Angels, you don't even need to send troops to kill the enemy. The war weapons carried by the City of Angels can easily crush those weak undead creatures." "You're right." Lin Yu nodded. He also looked forward to the early completion of the City of Angels. Once he had a City of Angels, those undead creatures outside the city would not be worth his attention. His goal in launching the war would directly be the Giant Kingdom. As long as the Giant Kingdom is destroyed, his territory, Paradise Town, will become the ruler of the western region of the Dark Forest. Lin Yu said to Angelia, "I'm going back to the Hall of the Overlord to rest. I'll leave the war and the troops to you." "Thank you for your trust, Master." Angelia nodded solemnly. After Lin Yu left, she followed Lin Yu's orders and began to rearrange the troops. At the same time, she ordered the troops to retract the battle lines. As of now, the front line has been pushed back to an area 3,500 meters away from the city walls. Retracting the battle lines can compress the battlefield synchronously to prevent the remaining troops on the battlefield from being surrounded by more enemy attacks after withdrawing a portion of the troops. Soon, under Angelia's command, the territory's troops began to slowly retreat. Some of the troops accelerated their pace and withdrew back to the territory. The remaining troops continued to fight the undead army in the reduced battlefield area. During this process, the undead army organized several fierce counterattacks, but they did not achieve good results and were instead annihilated by the troops left on the battlefield. If it were any other force, not just the Overlord, but also the local forces, they would never dare to do such a thing easily, because withdrawing a portion of the forces can easily lead to the collapse of the battle lines. But Lin Yu's territory doesn't have to worry about such a thing happening, because all the troops on the battlefield are his followers, and at the very least, they are fanatic believers. Advertisement. They will only obey the commands of the God of Faith with unwavering loyalty. They won't even consider the possibility of dying on the battlefield after friendly forces withdraw. Even more so, they erupted with even stronger morale and the spirit of fighting desperately to fill the empty battlefield left behind by the withdrawal of other army corps. They stubbornly withstood the charge of the undead army. This is the power of believers, the power of faith. Spirit Field Area. Both the black bone blood vine and the everlasting flower, two demonic plants, perked up their ears. Sister Vine, did you hear that? The war has not only not ended, but has become even more intense. I heard the roar and wailing of the undead, the rumbling of the demonic energy cannons, and the resounding war drums. Damn it, why haven't I matured yet? I wish I could personally go to the battlefield and serve my master. The everlasting flower was very unhappy. It is the master's demonic plant and the guardian of the territory. However, in the first large-scale war after the territory was upgraded to AA town, it was absent. It really wanted to charge out of the spirit field and slaughter all enemies. But it couldn't, because all things in the world must abide by the rules of this world, including these demonic plants. And the rule they follow is that demonic plants planted in the spirit field cannot leave until they mature. My power has already reached the early saint rank. If I were wild, I could enter the battlefield now and sweep away all opposition in just a few days. You're thinking too much. The black bone bloodvine said, a wild, everlasting flower growing to the saint rank in just a few days? Even if you had decades, it wouldn't be enough. Don't try to take advantage and act cute. Oh. The everlasting flower straightened its stem and sarcastically said, having evolved into a peak saint rank demonic plant, your tone has changed. It seems like you want to teach your sister a lesson, don't you? Not interested. The black bone blood vine wriggled countless branches like tentacles. As the everlasting flower said, its mentality had indeed changed. It was no longer the obedient king-level demonic plant it used to be. Now, if the everlasting flower bullied it, it had the courage to confront it head-on. Humph! The everlasting flower raised its head with a bit of arrogance. It felt like it had won in this round of confrontation. As for bullying the black bone bloodvine, it didn't dare anymore. Not because it was afraid of losing, but because it was afraid that the black bone bloodvine would evolve again when it got excited. The everlasting flower said with anticipation, after this war is over, I will have an endless supply of souls and accelerate my growth. Soon, sister, I will be able to leave this cursed place. The black bone bloodvine thought about how the everlasting flower's growth speed might surpass its own and be the first to form a contract with the master. It felt uncomfortable. I should be the master's first demonic plant. The little vine's sister became more and more anxious as she thought about it. The more anxious she became, the angrier she became. Gradually, a blood-red light emerged from it. Seeing this scene, the unfortunate flower was dumbfounded. Then it couldn't help but exclaim in disbelief, are you kidding me? You evolved again? I was being careful. I didn't provoke you. Looking at the black bone blood vine gradually enveloped in dense blood light, the unfortunate flower felt like it had been hit by a heavy blow and was completely confused. This shouldn't be happening. This guy definitely isn't a pure black bone blood vine. Yes, it's a hybrid. There must be some kind of bloodline from a reverse celestial beast hidden inside it. Only this can explain why it can repeatedly achieve bloodline evolution. The everlasting flower muttered to itself like it had gone crazy. During the night, Lin Yu was sleeping in a daze. Suddenly, he felt a soft body curl up in his arms. He naturally embraced it. Raising his eyes slightly, he saw a beautiful and delicate face. It was six-winged seeker angel Elena, who had already retracted her angel wings into her body. She looked just like a goddess from the human camp. Has the war ended? Lin Yu asked with some confusion. Just as he finished speaking, he heard the booming sound of cannons. Elena obediently rested her head on Lin Yu's chest and whispered, in response to the master, the undead army's attack has not slowed down. I was just replaced to restore my magic power. So she ended up on my bed? Looking at the beautiful angel in his arms, who was as obedient as a cat, Lin Yu couldn't help but smile. All right, I'll lend you a hand. In the blink of an eye, the night passed and the sun rose. A new day began. Lin Yu yawned and got out of bed. He put on his clothes with the help of ancient great elf Doris. The fierce battle last night made him feel a significant loss for the first time. Of course, the result didn't matter. The process of enjoyment was the most crucial. Before long, Elena, who had woken up earlier, prepared breakfast and brought it to the bedroom. After finishing breakfast, Lin Yu and the other two went to the first floor of the Hall of the Overlord. When the territory reached the town level, the scale of the Hall of the Overlord also expanded. The most noticeable change was the first floor hall. Its area had increased by more than 10 times. Gathering thousands of angels was no problem at all. At this moment, the hall was already piled up with a massive amount of spoils, forming several mountains. Gold coins, over 800,000. Equipment, over 4,000 pieces. Blueprints, over 1,000. There were also various other spoils, numbering in the thousands. The harvest was truly overwhelming. The phrase, overnight riches, was not enough to describe it. Indeed, war is the most profitable. Looking at the mountains of spoils in front of him, Lin Yu's fatigue vanished instantly. The blacksmiths in the blacksmith workshop had worked hard all day. They only obtained 1,000 pieces of equipment, and they were all low-level equipment. But last night's battle brought him over 4,000 pieces of equipment, including various levels. Among them were high-level and even king-level and transcendent equipment. Just these equipment alone can bring me over 1,000,000 gold coins. And there are blueprints. Without hesitation, Lin Yu immediately listed these equipment and blueprints on the island trading platform, according to their level and price. All over 4,000 pieces of equipment were neatly organized. This was thanks to Secretary An's efforts. While he was still asleep, Angelia had already sorted and counted the equipment, blueprints, and other spoils. He only needed to list them on the trading platform. There are still 349 pieces of king-level equipment left, 65 pieces of transcendent equipment, and 1 piece of saint-rank equipment. Lin Yu didn't sell these 3 grades of equipment because no one could afford them. At this stage, high-level equipment was already the limit that those professionals could bear. A group of low-level professionals couldn't afford higher-quality equipment. Lin Yu planned to use these equipment to arm the tribal elves under Doris. Angels were unique. They came fully armed when summoned. Even their angel sets had the ability to grow and evolve. Whether they were holy angels or fallen angels, Lin Yu didn't need to equip them. But other types of troops are different. Advertisement. Take the tribal elves, for example. Many of them have already reached the king level and transcendent levels. However, they are still wearing their previous equipment. This prevents them from fully unleashing their level of strength. Fortunately, the current equipment is very suitable for them and can greatly enhance their combat power. Doris, these equipment are entrusted to you. Distribute them to the tribal elves who need them. Praise you, the great Lord of Holy Light. Doris was immediately excited. Hundreds of king-level and transcendent equipment. This is an astonishing wealth. Previously, their tribe couldn't even gather 10 pieces of king-level equipment, let alone transcendent equipment. She had never even seen them before. Doris exclaimed excitedly, "With these equipment, Carol and the others' strength will definitely skyrocket." Lin Yu nodded and gave her a spatial equipment, saying, "This is for you, to store the daily harvest from hunting." Among the more than 4,000 pieces of equipment obtained this time, there were a total of 17 spatial equipment. One was given to Doris. The remaining spatial equipment was handed over to six-winged seeker angel Elena, who was beside them, to distribute to the Dominion angels in the Angel Legion. The Dominion angels possessed the teleportation divine art. They could open the gate of holy light and instantly teleport to the positions of other angel legions. They would collect the spoils of war from each angel legion, relieving the burden on the secretary. Finally, there was that piece of saint-rank equipment. Lin Yu checked its equipment information. Saint E Nightmare Spear. Type: Attack Equipment. Attack Level: Saint Rank Late Stage. Durability: 100. Special Effect 1. Intimidation. Can intimidate undead creatures below Saint Rank, greatly weakening their combat power. Special Effect 2. Summoning. After using this active skill, can summon a nightmare beast of the same level as the owner, up to Saint Rank peak. Special Effect 3. Fatality. Active skill. With one strike, Ordinary Saint rank creatures will die. Special Effect 4. Soul Curse, Active Skill, using death as a catalyst to curse enemies. Introduction. This is a gun that accompanies a Saint rank Nightmare Knight, crafted from rare metals from the underworld, with terrifying power. This knight's gun bears witness to the legendary life of the Saint rank Nightmare Knight and also witnesses its death. What a great gun! Lin Yu exclaimed. Before this, he had never obtained a Saint rank equipment. This was the first time. And the attributes of this Saint rank equipment also surprised and shocked him. Truly worthy of being a Saint rank level equipment, it's very powerful. It's hard to imagine how amazing the attributes of a demigod artifact or a legendary divine weapon would be. Looking at the Saint Nightmare gun in his hand, Lin Yu couldn't wait to exchange it for the Origin Scepter, worth 40,000. Take a look at this equipment. If you can use it, it's yours. Lin Yu handed the Nightmare gun to ancient Great Elf Doris. In reality, the Fallen Angel would be more suitable for this equipment, because they are all part of the Hell faction. But the problem is, every Fallen Angel is fully armed. They don't lack equipment, and they also look down on it. As for Doris, after last night's war, she has been promoted from Transcendent late stage to the early stage of Saint rank, and she happens to lack Saint rank level equipment. Doris looked at the Nightmare gun in her hand, and an extremely excited expression appeared on her delicate and charming face. This was also her first encounter with Saint rank equipment. Before, she had only heard about it. But soon, a look of discomfort appeared on her face. It's like being surrounded by delicious food but not being able to eat it. Helplessness filled her eyes. Then, she reluctantly returned the Nightmare gun to Lin Yu and said, "My lord, this is an extremely powerful Saint weapon, but I can't use it." If she were a swordsman, she would immediately thank the Lord of Holy Light for the reward. But the problem is, she is an elven assassin, skilled in stealth and assassination. The more delicate the weapon, the easier it is to succeed in assassination. Going to assassinate someone with a knight's long spear, before she even gets close, she would be discovered by the enemy. Moreover, which assassin would stab someone with a long spear? All right. Lin Yu took back the Holy Nightmare Spear. He equipped it and then waved his right hand lightly. Suddenly, the air in front of him was forcefully cut open, emitting a piercing screech. A burst of black spear light shot out. It forcefully sliced through the pillar in the Hall of the Overlord. The 2-meter-thick pillar was directly cut open. It's worth noting that this was just a casual wave without using any magic power. It can be seen how powerful this Nightmare Spear is. After glancing at the quickly restored pillar, Lin Yu used the summoning skill of the Holy Nightmare Spear again. In an instant, a void cave appeared in front of Lin Yu. After a moment, a nightmare beast covered in black scales and several meters tall appeared in the hall. This was a transcendent late-stage nightmare beast, on par with Lin Yu. Yes, overnight, Lin Yu's level broke through again, reaching the transcendent late stage, and his experience bar was already filled. As long as the Angel Legion kills 5 more Saint rank enemies, his level can directly reach the Saint rank level and simultaneously master the power of the domain. Without hesitation, Lin Yu flipped onto the back of the Nightmare Beast. With a thought, the Nightmare Beast rushed out of the Hall of the Overlord and soared into the sky on ice-blue flames. Its speed was comparable to an Airbus. After circling in the sky above his territory for a few rounds, Lin Yu reluctantly returned to the Hall of the Overlord. He then put away the Nightmare Beast. What a pity! Lin Yu felt a bit regretful. The function and value of this Nightmare Spear are both very high, but unfortunately, no one in his territory can use it. In the end, he can only keep it for himself, storing it in the territory's warehouse for now. Next, Lin Yu dealt with a batch of blueprints. There were about 700 of them. Most of them were blueprints for wooden houses and arrow towers. A small portion were blueprints for unit quantity and unit evolution. After using them, Lin Yu's territory gained over 4,000 high-level wooden houses, over 500 middle-level turrets, and a total of approximately 20,000 elite units. The remaining unit evolution blueprints were, as usual, given to ancient Great Elfidorus. A dozen or so special, exclusive unit evolution blueprints were given to six-winged seeker angel Aelena. With this, last night's spoils were considered dealt with. Only the gold coins remained unused. As of now, Lin Yu's reserve of gold coins has exceeded 1.5 million, and the value is still increasing. This is because the over 4,000 pieces of equipment he just put up for sale are being bought by professionals one after another. If nothing unexpected happens, when all these equipment are sold, the amount of gold coins in my hands can reach 3 million. 3 million gold coins. This is a terrifying number. If it spreads, it will definitely cause a sensation throughout the floating island. Lin Yu himself was also extremely excited, because later, he can summon tens of thousands of angels at once, doubling the size of the existing angel legion. With this rate of growth, at most tomorrow, the total size of my angel army can reach over 100,000. Lin Yu suddenly took a deep breath. 100,000 angel army, what kind of concept is that? Just thinking about the scene of covering the sky and blocking out the sun is enough to make his heart surge. 100,000 angels. Not even a throne angel city can hold them all. So, I must build more city of angels. Originally, Lin Yu thought that the throne of angels, created by Coral, would be enough to accommodate all the angels in his territory. After all, he now has a total of 76 small-scale angel legions under his command, with a total of over 38,000 angels. And the carrying capacity of a small-scale city of angels is 50,000 angels. Advertisement. It is a large-scale angel legion. The city of angels, built by Coral, is more than enough to serve the territory. But unexpectedly, it didn't last long. After this wave of summoning, the number of angels under his command will definitely exceed 80,000. After all, that's 3 million gold coins. 80,000 angels already exceed the carrying capacity of the small-scale city of angels. Although they can squeeze and share a throne angel city, if they want to have a stronger war power, they still need to build more city of angels. Just as Lin Yu was planning for the future, the chat channel on the island was already boiling, because they were shocked by the terrifying achievements of Paradise Town. So powerful. Unbelievable. Lin Yu's Paradise Town not only successfully resisted the attack of the undead army last night, but also dropped thousands of equipment. It's terrifying. More than 4,000 pieces of equipment. How many undead creatures do you have to kill to drop that? At least tens of millions. Scary. I originally thought that Lin Yu's Paradise Town would suffer heavy losses last night. Now it seems that I was thinking too much. Lin Yu has once again become rich overnight. Selling a few million gold coins for thousands of pieces of equipment is not a problem at all. After all, there are many high-level equipment in it. This time, Lin Yu can expand the Angel Legion on a large scale again. It's really envy-inducing. While I was excited about getting thousands of gold coins, Lin Yu already has millions in his hands. With this money, Lin Yu can directly summon tens of thousands of angels. Envy. At this moment, millions of professionals on the island were all green with envy. Especially those overlord professionals, they were really envious to the point of heartache. At this stage, the vast majority of overlord professionals are still at the stage of earning a few hundred to 1,000 gold coins per day. The income of an apex level overlord may reach several thousand gold coins. But compared to Lin Yu, they are still far behind. In just one night of effort, Lin Yu earned 2 to 3 million gold coins, which is tens of times more than them. With such a gap, how could they possibly catch up with Lin Yu? Lin Yu's terrifying development speed made even apex-level overlords feel a sense of despair. However, this does not include those overlords from the Radiant Alliance. At this moment, the Radiant Alliance channel was filled with cheers. Our leader is really amazing. I was worried about Paradise Town suffering heavy losses from the attack of the undead army before. Now it seems that I was just overthinking. Lin Yu's strength far exceeds our imagination. I can't wait to see our leader establish a kingdom. Me too. It can be seen that the number of members in the Radiant Alliance channel has increased to nearly 50. If it weren't for the membership restriction, Only Overlord professionals from the Radiant faction can join the alliance. The number of members in the alliance channel would be even greater. Just by displaying Lin Yu's banner, countless professionals would flock to it. Half an hour later, more than 4,000 pieces of equipment, except for some supreme-grade equipment that is still being auctioned. All the other equipment was sold out. As Lin Yu expected, his gold reserves reached 3 million. To be precise, it was 3,297,000 gold coins. Although he was mentally prepared, Lin Yu still took a deep breath. Shocked and excited. Summoning a medium-sized angel legion led by an 8-winged angel requires a consumption of 285,000 gold coins. I now have nearly 3.3 million gold coins. I can directly summon 11 fully equipped medium-sized angel legions, totaling 56,220 angels. This is the first time Lin Yu has summoned so many angels. The scale is so huge. It's even hard for him to believe. Without hesitation, Lin Yu immediately communicated with Myriad World's floating island and opened the summoning black hole. Soon, countless angels flew out of the black hole. After this wave of summoning, the number of angels under my command will reach more than 90,000, and the 100,000 angel army is within reach. It seems that the increase in territory level has greatly accelerated the speed of summoning. In just a moment, more than 50,000 angels flew out of the black hole. The ratio is still approximately 2 to 1. The holy angels occupy 2/3, while the fallen angels occupy 1/3. A total of 11 medium-sized angel legions, 7 of which are holy angel legions and 4 are fallen angel legions. All of these angel legions are led by 8-winged angels. A total of 11 8-winged angels. Each one has reached the transcendent level. As for their growth potential, it is at the peak of the middle-ranked gods. In other words, as long as they kill enough enemies, they can easily become peak middle-ranked gods and possess medium-level divine power. Except for the 11 8-winged angels. Among these 11 medium-sized angel legions, there are also 110 6-winged angels. Some are at the 9th level. Some are at the king level. Their growth potential is at the level of lower-ranked gods. In short, once they reach the peak, they will all become eternal true gods. This is very terrifying. Other overlords, where would they have such terrifying troops? Even apex-level overlords, the growth potential of their troops is only at the saint rank. Only in extremely lucky situations is it possible to recruit rare troops with demigod potential. Like the Dark Elves in Lin Yu's territory, they are generally at the saint rank. Up to now, the Dark Elf Mother Tree has given birth to thousands of Dark Elves, but they are all at the saint rank and no special demigod troops have appeared. This is also the current situation of other apex-level overlords. Compared to that, Lin Yu's angels are simply abnormal troops. In fact, if Lin Yu only summoned 2-winged angels with demigod-level growth potential, his territory development speed would not be able to reach this level. But the problem lies in the fact that he is not summoning a single 2-winged angel. He is summoning the entire angel race. As long as he upgrades his territory, he can unlock the ability to summon high-ranking angels. High-ranking angels are the fundamental reason why he can crush other overlords. Until now, Lin Yu still cannot determine why he can summon the entire angel race. Could it be that he is truly the reincarnation of the Supreme Creator? So it leads to him being able to summon various high-ranking angels, and both the holy angels and the fallen angels are extremely loyal to him and believe in him. Just as Lin Yu was lost in thought, a group of powerful high-ranking angels had already gathered in front of him. Leading them were 11 8-winged angels, 7 holy angels, 4 fallen angels. Behind them, there were over 100 6-winged angels. Outside the Hall of the Overlord, there were also 11 medium-sized angel legions, with a total number of over 56,000 4-winged angels and 2-winged angels. Whether they are holy angels or fallen angels, they all have one thing in common. That is, in front of Lin Yu, they have put away their indifference and arrogance. On each beautiful and stunning face, there is a full sense of reverence and fanaticism towards Lin Yu. Praise you, great Lord of Holy Light, Creator. The group of high-ranking angels all bowed respectfully to Lin Yu. Then, outside the hall of the Overlord, the tens of thousands of four-winged angels and two-winged angels shouted in unison, and the terrifying sound almost tore apart the clouds thousands of meters high. Just with this unparalleled momentum, it is enough to deter countless intelligent races. Very good. Advertisement. Lin Yu nodded slightly and said to the group of high-ranking archangels in front of him, "May the light illuminate the universe, and the holy light purify evil. On this long path of faith spreading, I will always be with you." Hearing this, the more than 100 high-ranking archangels in the hall immediately became extremely excited. There is nothing more important than this. Angels, fearless in war, unafraid of death. War is the way faith spreads. And death, for angels, is just a new beginning. The indomitable angelic hearts within them carry their souls. Even if they sacrifice on the battlefield, the angelic hearts will assist them in resurrection. If they are not afraid of death, what else could they fear? What they truly fear is losing the favor of the Lord of Holy Light, the Creator. For a race of faith, this can be considered the darkest apocalypse. Therefore, when they heard that the Lord of Holy Light, the Creator, would be with them forever, they naturally became extremely excited and thrilled. All the angels present are willing to dedicate everything to the great Lord. Lin Yu counted the newly summoned more than 100 high-ranking archangels. He discovered that among them, there were 3 angel of retribution, 4 angel of love, and 2 artisan angel. Although they are all 6-winged angels, being able to summon so many special angels at once was enough to make Lin Yu ecstatic. These 3 types of special angels are all very important. Angel of retribution, impartial and powerful in battle. Angel of love, skilled in redemption and resurrection, as well as spreading love. Artisan angel, the core talent for building the city of angels. In this case, I now have 4 artisan angels under my command. This can greatly accelerate the construction speed of the city of angels. If all goes well, my first throne angel city can be completed by tomorrow morning at the latest, or even sooner. Without hesitation, Lin Yu immediately ordered the 2 newly summoned artisan angels to help Coral and Marianne speed up the construction of the city of angels. He couldn't wait to see the scene of the city of angels soaring into the clouds. Then, Lin Yu turned his gaze to the 11 8-winged angels in front of him. Among the 7 divine angels, 2 were dominion angels, 1 was a seeker angel, and 4 were angel of strength. The remaining 4 8-winged fallen angels were not assigned to any faction. Lin Yu said to them, "Your mission is to eliminate the wild monsters around the territory and eradicate possible beast tides and local forces. The protection of the world's rules has disappeared. I entrust the security of the territory to you. I don't want to see any enemies crossing your defense line and appearing at the gates of my territory." "Yes, Supreme Lord." The group of high-ranking archangels saluted with solemn expressions. The 4 8-winged fallen angels exuded a chilling aura. The 7 8-winged divine angels said in unison, "Rest assured, our Lord. Not even a flying bird can approach your territory. If there is, it must have had its soul purified. The Lord's domain is sacred and inviolable." Very good. A smile appeared on Lin Yu's face. He loved hearing this kind of talk, confident and arrogant. After the group of high-ranking archangels left, Lin Yu glanced at the remaining number of gold coins, which was still over 160,000. Thinking about the 76 small angel legions he had before, Lin Yu summoned 4 more small legions, plus 1 8-winged angel. With this, he now had 19 fully equipped medium-sized angel legions under his command. Among them, there were 13 divine angel legions and 6 fallen angel legions. The total number of angels was over 97,000. After this series of summonings, angels officially became the largest force under Lin Yu's command. At this moment, an elegant and beautiful figure walked into the hall of the Overlord. It was Angelia. After one night, the holy radiance emanating from Secretary and seemed even more intense, as if she was enveloped in a layer of divine light. Beautiful, sacred, and untouchable. Lin Yu reflexively looked behind Secretarian. 3 pairs of snow-white angel wings. and a pair of huge and dazzling flowing light wings, without a second pair of flowing light wings. This indicated that she was still an 8-winged angel. "Oh, great Lord!" Angelia approached, bowing her head respectfully and said, "Dozens of kilometers away, an endless number of wild monsters are gathering and rushing towards your territory like a tide. The beast tide is coming." This was Lin Yu's first reaction. Although the rules of the floating island world were rigid, they were never deceptive. If there was a beast tide, then there definitely would be one. If nothing unexpected happened, the armies of the local forces would soon launch an attack. It was even possible that the armies of those local intelligent races were following behind the beast tide, preparing to join forces with the beast tide to conquer his territory in one fell swoop. This is a full-scale war. No moment of rest. Lin Yu looked at the beautiful and elegant secretarian and asked, "What about the various legions of the territory?" Angelia respectfully replied, "They are clearing out the wild monsters while gradually retreating to the territory." "Okay." Lin Yu nodded. The scale of the beast tide might not necessarily be smaller than that of the undead army. If they were to fight the beast tide in the wild world and were surrounded, it would be very dangerous. The angels didn't mind. They had powerful combat strength and could fly. Even if they were really in danger, the Dominion angels could open the gates of holy light and directly teleport the various angel legions back to the territory. But it was different for the other types of legions, especially the relatively weaker Goblin Legion, Grey Dwarf Legion, and so on. If they were surrounded by the beast tide, there would definitely be only one result: total annihilation, including the Forest Troll Legion and even the Dark Elf Legion. Therefore, the safest way to wage war was to retreat to the territory. Utilize the territory's walls, magic cannons, and other defensive facilities to resist the beast tide. Lin Yu asked, "Is there any trace of Saint rank magical beasts?" Angelia shook her head and said, "For now, I've only seen a considerable number of transcendent magical beasts. Saint rank magical beasts have not appeared yet." Lin Yu said, "Once the figure of a Saint rank magical beast is discovered, it must be killed immediately. We cannot let Saint rank magical beasts appear on the battlefield of the legions. As for the transcendent magical beasts, there's no need to worry. Leave them to the legions." Saint rank magical beasts also possess the power of domains. If this power appeared on the battlefield, it would cause significant casualties to the legions of the territory. So it must be dealt with immediately. Compared to that, transcendent level magical beasts were there to provide experience for the legions of the territory. Especially those high-ranking angels, they loved killing transcendent magical beasts because it allowed them to obtain a huge amount of primal energy, thus enabling them to advance to higher levels faster. "Yes, my lord." Angelia expressed her understanding. As the strongest angel under the Lord of Holy Light, her task was to deal with the most threatening enemies. Lin Yu continued, "After this wave of war ends, the number of wild monsters and local intelligent races in the surrounding areas will greatly decrease. At that time, we need to expand our hunting grounds. Most importantly, we need to prepare for war with the Giant Kingdom." Speaking of this, Lin Yu's thoughts drifted to the Giant Kingdom. "I wonder if those 3 mountain giants have returned to the Giant Kingdom?" The faith line shows that they split up. 2 of the mountain giants are traveling together. The other mountain giant went to another place and doesn't seem to have returned to the Giant Kingdom. Advertisement. With the help of faith, Lin Yu knew that all 3 disciples of the mountain giant were still alive. As for what they were doing or what situation they encountered, Lin Yu didn't know. This was mainly because his current strength was still very low. There was no way to descend with his thoughts onto the disciples. When he became a god and possessed divinity, he would be able to wield such power. Moreover, this power would increase as his divine power grew stronger. For ordinary believers, divine thoughts could envelop all the believers in a world. For powerful divine beings, divine thoughts could penetrate space and descend onto the believers of other worlds. "My lord, you don't need to worry. They will definitely execute your divine oracle faithfully." Angelia's voice was gentle as she said, "If any accidents occur that lead to the failure of the mission, I will find a way to obtain enough magic cores to help your angel army conquer the giant kingdom in one fell swoop. Hearing this, a brilliant smile appeared on Lin Yu's increasingly handsome face. Indeed, Secretarian was the most reliable. He naturally reached out and held Angelia's soft and delicate hand, smiling as he said, "Angelia, no matter when, you always make me feel relaxed all over. I look forward to the day when you can become an 18-winged Grand Archangel, always accompanying me." Angelia's eyes sparkled, and she quickly said respectfully, "Being able to accompany and serve the Lord is my honor. I will work hard to improve myself and strive to be promoted to 18-winged as soon as possible." "Good." Lin Yu nodded with a smile. Behind him, Elena, the gentle and obedient six-winged seeker angel, glanced at Secretarian, who was emitting a dazzling holy radiance, and silently lowered her head. In less than an hour, all the legions of the territory had returned. The total size reached nearly 180,000. Among them, half were angel legions composed of holy angels and fallen angels. As of now, the number of Lin Yu's subjects had exceeded 200,000. To be precise, it was 230,000. 180,000 were military units. 50,000 were ordinary subjects. With so many people, the amount of food consumed every day was a staggering number. Especially those large-sized forest trolls. Each one was a big eater, capable of devouring 5 sheep in one meal. Fortunately, food was the least lacking resource in Lin Yu's territory. Especially meat, they could eat as much as they wanted. As orders were conveyed one after another, the 180,000-strong military legions quickly ascended the city walls. Looking around, there were angelic figures on all sides of the city walls, like beautiful female war gods, guarding the territory behind them. At the same time, dozens of kilometers away, countless monsters roared through the jungle, their rumbling sounds like war drums. Countless ancient trees were broken by them. The earth seemed to be rolling like encountering a dragon, constantly shaking and trembling. In the sky, there were also countless figures. They were flying wild monsters from different races. If one stood in the clouds, they could clearly see that whether it was flying wild monsters or ground wild monsters, their numbers were unbelievably large. They stretched for hundreds of kilometers, forming a huge circle, converging from all directions, aiming directly at the center of Paradise Town.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.